This one's for Matilda. Lexi had taken to keeping an eye on the two brothers. She spent days and most nights watching their apartments or the office, always staying well out of their sight, which was about as hard as getting whistles in a strip club. She knew that they were innocent, not of most traffic laws or the laws of fashion, good taste, or cleanliness, and she was pretty sure that them hanging around all day in that broken-down office, doing next to nothing, with no visible means of support, likely came dangerously close to violating the vagrancy and loitering laws. But they were innocent in this. The other side had used them as easy marks to hold on to the secret plans in the last place anyone would ever look or bother to find. They were patsies to be eliminated as required, two absolute nobodies who nobody would miss, least of all the local police. Lexi just couldn't let that happen. Besides, she'd grown kind of accustomed to trying to get a rise out of Rod, and as for Jack, she always wanted a man to raise from a pup, and he was mostly house-trained. One morning, she figured that Roderick just wasn't getting his exercise, so she thought she'd pop in and see if she could get him to jump up out of his chair 2 or 3 times. She stopped by the deli and talked the nice man into selling her the big jar of plaster of Paris eggs in colored water that they kept in the front window display, ever since the big, hard-boiled egg caper of '39. She knew Rod liked his eggs pickled, and she was, after all, a peacemaker by nature. It was a lovely spring day. The drunks were in bloom, the trash can lids were returning from their winter migration, some of them, and the smell from the local garbage dump filled the air with new possibilities for yet another outbreak of something the doctors just couldn't identify. The rats in the gutters even seemed to have a hopeful glint in their eye. As Lexi walked toward the office, a quick glint in a trash can near the rumbler caught her eye. She set her heavy package down and reached through the old newspapers and discarded bits of rotten food until she saw it. Shiny, new, and out of place. Wire cutters no one in this neighborhood would ever discard. Steal? Sure. Pawn? Definitely. Toss? Never. She slipped them efficiently into her pocket, lifted the big jar out, and took the bag with her as she stepped over to the car. Carefully, she bent down to peek through the tiny gap around the hood, then crouched down and wriggled on her back underneath. Then she saw it, 4 or 5 sticks of dynamite, a timer, a detonator, a triggering wire leading to the hood, all of it. She'd seen it before, but not here, not in this country, not blocks away from where Matilda lived with her precious book. The reality of it crushed her for a moment, but only for a moment. Her training kicked in, and she quickly and efficiently took the wire cutters out of her pocket and went to work. There was a door slam and a familiar booming, plodding creak of the stairs. Rod had poked out for all to see, which to Lexi, now in full fight mode, was only a small problem. Jack had clattered downstairs, too. Great! The one time they both decide to actually get out of their chairs, and it has to be now, Lexi grumbled to herself as she worked, never losing focus on the bundled death that was just inches from her face. But she didn't miss a beat as her hands moved, cutting away layer after layer of strapping tape and going to work on the timer and triggering wires. "What are you doing under there, sweetheart?" he grouched. "Just practicing for the inevitable day when Jack spills coffee in his lap and backs over me with the car. And, hey, either your baby sister is walking up behind me or you've got the wrong idea about us and the things you should call me," Lexi insisted. "Yeah, Toots, I'll bring the coffee," growled Rod under his breath. "Rod, we don't have a baby sister," chimed in Jack, who had apparently been trying to do the math in his head. "That's Roderick. Don't you start, please, Jack. Please just shut up, will ya?" Rod shot back, growing more frustrated by the moment. "And don't look. I've got a dress on, and it's riding up," Lexi chimed in as she shifted a bit under the car. "You're wearing pants, Toots." "I told you not to look," Lexi shot back in a fun, naughty tone. Totally done with this. Rod mumbled some unpleasantries under his breath and stormed back toward the office. Just about then, Lexi had cut the last bit of tape and the last connecting wire, and she quickly lowered the bomb, detonator, timer, and all into her bag. "Your oil pan is leaking, by the way. I'd get that looked at the free clinic," she shouted to him as he left. She didn't know if Rod had heard that one. The extra loud slam of the door at the top of the stairs told her that he had. Lexi slid out from under the car and quickly dusted herself off. "Oh, I'm sorry, Gumshoe. Did you want to brush my bottom off?" she mused, noting the southerly direction that Jack's gaze had taken. "There are some fun parts up here in the front, too, if you're interested," she teased. "By the way, I brought Rod something to keep his eggs in case he ever finds them." She bent down at the most advantageous angle for Jack's gaze she could find and lifted up the big jar, handing it to him, then quickly picking up her bomb-laden bag. "Be sure to tell him they're from me. I've got a package to deliver, and it might take a while. Don't stop thinking of me, even with clothes on sometimes." She turned and walked quickly away. Flustering Jack had become such an art form that she got cleanly away without him saying a single word or ever even asking about what she had been doing under his car. Mission accomplished. Over the next few hectic days and sleepless nights, Lexi did everything she could, using every bit of skill and ugly experience she had to root whoever these people were out. She knew where most of the message drop-off spots were. She knew what ports and what docks the German spies usually used to evade detection coming in or going out. She knew most of the seedy dives, where traitors, capitulators, gun runners, and assorted thieves, cutthroats, and murder-for-hire lowlifes went to get drunk and make their ugly little backroom deals. She knew most of the crooked cops, and for a few quick hands down the pants dances in an interrogation room here or a men's room there, she finally pumped them for all the information she could. She let herself be mauled by just enough drunken sailors, longshoremen, harbor patrol flunkies, and tramp steamer captains, all just out for a quick feel, a quick ride, or a quick reach down the pants, a popular favorite, to get a pretty good update on suspicious shipments, strange foreign passengers, unreported murders, and smugglers' whereabouts to fill a very dirty book. As for herself, she could shower off the stink of it all, but she knew that she could never wash away the stain of Jack's blood or Matilda's, or the blood of the other innocent people touched by this sickness, this evil. She even had to roll some of the local riffraff, and while they don't like going straight, they really don't like being rolled. One of the big palookas even tried it with the rough stuff. He gave her a backhand and slammed her back onto a table so hard it broke to bits and hit the floor just before she did. She got up, wiped the blood from her lip, and gave him a swift, hard kick in the last place he wanted to be kicked, then two more for good measure while he lay curled up moaning on the ground. That was just no way to treat a lady, and he'd have time to think about that if he ever got up again, or at all, she thought to herself. She listened and intercepted message after message on her radio and decoded until either her eyes or the black coffee ran out. She decoded and wrote notes and made marks on maps until her fingers were stained blue with ink and she could barely keep her head up. Then one night, as she was finally about to fall asleep for the first time in days, she heard it. The faint static that grew louder and slowly became one beep and then another, the telltale sign of enemy offshore activity. The dot-dit-dash, dit-dit stream of a coded message, this one from a submarine just offshore. Lexi perked up, finding new strength from somewhere deep inside, and started transcribing it to paper as fast and furiously as she could. She finally had a solid lead that could end this whole thing. The submarine was going to come close to shore tonight and put two agents with false credentials and detailed instructions ashore just off of Logan's Point. Lexi had to be there. She had to have those plans. A few hours later, she was hidden in the low dunes and seagrass that would make a perfect spot to land and hide a raft. She watched and waited, and with her binoculars she finally saw it. The shadowy silhouette of the deadly war machine as it rose to the surface. No running lights, No telltale giveaway from the light inside when the hatch was open, no sign at all. They were being extra careful for this one. But then she saw it, the raft, 2 people on board and being slowly and quietly rowed toward shore. By the time the 2 men had landed and checked their weapons and supplies, Lexi was only a few yards away and crouched down just out of sight. For anyone else, she would have walked out of the darkness naked for maximum distraction, maximum advantage. But not for them. Their eyes didn't deserve that. "Hey, this beach is closed," she announced as if officially. The startled men started to turn, started to reach for their guns. The muffled sound of a silencer announced 4 or 5 times that they weren't welcome. Lexi knelt down to make sure they were good Germans, dead ones, and she quickly started taking all their papers and rifling for anything else important. With their pockets full of all the rocks she could find, Lexi rowed them back out to some safe distance, and the silencer spoke again. This time joined by Lexi's knife, as she quickly and efficiently scuttled the raft and started swimming for shore. She spent another sleepless night decoding, checking maps, creating false messages, and checking map coordinates. This momentary ability to pose and the German contact, the commander and leader of the local cell, might be all she needed, if she acted quickly enough. The original plan was to plant explosives all over the city, in highly trafficked areas, in schools, in hospitals, in parks, government offices, and police stations. They were all to be set off at once to create maximum terror, fear, and destruction. That would never do. She needed them all in one place, all at one time. She wrote out new notes and sent out new secret radio messages. She now knew all the right frequencies, the right drop-off locations and pick-up times, and all the right signs and countersigns. She became the leader of a new plot, a plot to blow up all the oil storage tanks in the port. This would cause maximum fear and terror, widespread fire and damage, and would deprive the American Pacific Fleet of their critical petroleum reserves. These were the instructions she sent out. These were the messages she dropped in all the right secret locations. There were her orders. And over the next day, all of the confirmations came in. Orders received, orders understood. 1900 hours, 2 weeks from today, Heil Hitler. The plan was for everyone to meet in a secluded, empty oil tank on the edge of the water to receive further instructions on the best way to plant explosives for maximum effect. All that Lexi had to do now was to speed things up and keep the cell members busy enough to keep them from thinking too much about whether all of her codes and countersigns and instructions had sounded entirely as they should. She had to guess some of it, but hoped that they were all so trained to obey without question that she might just get away with it for long enough before one of them radioed for confirmation from Germany. She quickly went to different phones all around town, careful to never use the same one twice. She called in fires, break-ins, and robberies in progress. She called in an earthquake and an explosion and a ship sinking in the harbor, everything she could think of. She even broke a couple of jewelry store windows as she went. As the sirens rang out all over town, she hurried home and sent out the alert. Compromised. Meeting to be immediate. 1900 hours tonight. Urgent. As she heard the confirmation start to come in, she quickly grabbed her special package and headed for the rendezvous point. She got to the tank site fashionably but not critically late. She figured that they must all be inside by now, just following orders. That's what they always say, isn't it? She climbed slowly and carefully up the ladder on the outside of the tank and walked slowly to the open hatch and peeked in over the side. There they all were. Monsters, killers, everything wrong with the world, all there in human form, obediently having put themselves in the bottom of a giant dirty oil tank on a dark night. The master race indeed. She had prepared the ladder for this, and when she released it and let it fall, they all scattered and yelled and started pulling out their guns. Lexi looked over the side of the hatch and waited for them to quiet down before she spoke. "I want you to know why you are all here tonight." One of them shouted out and cursed and shot up at her with his Luger. The shot hit the inside of the tank and ricocheted twice, nearly hitting one of the men. He yelled, and a shouting match broke out. Lexi waited for them to quiet down again. I want you to know why you are all here tonight. You are here because you are trying to control the world with hate and fear. You are here because you believe that kindness and decency are weaknesses and that love and compassion are tools to be used against people. You are here because you believe division, bigotry, and a hate are a means to an end, a way to divide and control the world. Stupid, weak woman, let us out now. Your family will be shot. You will be shot, the officer yelled as if given a command. Ours is the superior race. Your love and compassion will be your undoing. We will grind you all under our heels. I will take your mother and children over and over as you watch. You will pay for this. I will shoot your family down as you beg, he continued. Too late, you bastard. Your people already tried that, Lexi said under her breath. History will be ours, the officer yelled out in his most menacing, threatening tone. The shouts from the others got louder and more desperate. Lexi waited for them to die down. No history will not be yours anymore. Your history is at an end. She held the package that she had brought up so she could make sure everything was in order. She flipped the timer on. You left this in my friend's car, she said matter-of-factly as she held the package out for them to see. And then loudly, to make sure they all heard it, the last thing they would ever hear. Viva la France! She let the package go and closed the hatch. She climbed down and walked matter-of-factly back along the beach toward town. She listened to the foghorns in the distance. She listened to the seagulls overhead. She listened to the gentle and steady murmur of traffic coming from the city, all the sounds that a free world makes every day and every night. She thought about her parents. She thought about her sister. She thought about Matilda. She thought about her beloved fields outside of Paris, and she counted. 12, 11, 10, 9. There was a muffled roar, a quick flash of light, and then a slight shockwave that blew by, warm and with an acrid smell. Lexi just kept walking. For you, Mama. For you, Papa.